All right, thanks everybody for logging on today. Appreciate you taking the time to explore this opportunity for your chamber. I certainly appreciate the environment that we're in, different stages across the country and before holiday weekend. So I don't take lightly how valuable your time is, and I appreciate you taking a leadership role in this for your members and their employees. So the challenges are unique for businesses and chambers, so I think the solutions need to be unique. So today we're going to discuss one of those solutions, which is a chamber-led retirement program. It's a pretty diverse group. I was looking at the list before I hopped on here. So we got chambers representing 25 different states. We have membership sizes ranging from chambers to just over 100 members to almost 2,000. So we'll take 20 minutes or so, and I have a couple panelists who are also going to speak. But we're going to talk about this opportunity for chambers in their business. We'll get into some of the changes that we've got some feedback from some of you folks out there who had some questions and wanted to see some additional details. So we'll work those into the mix as well. Some of you who are on today have I've talked to individually or who have been on previous webinars. So we'll address some of those concerns that you reached out to me with. So we'll keep the question and answers open, and anybody who wants to ask a question or put something in the chat window, I'll try to address that as we go along, or if it's something I think will be addressed at a later slide, we'll just wait till we get to it then. So I just want to start off here with a quick poll. My question is, are chambers looking to use this program to add new members or to provide existing members with additional programs? Curious to see what we come back with here. I'll take this time to thank anybody who emailed some questions ahead of time. I was able to work those into some of the slides, so I appreciate that. Okay, looks like we got some votes in here. So it looks like people are mostly looking to both, which was kind of expected, right? We're looking to retain our existing members, but also add some new members and get them in the mix. So we think this is a program that's going to help you do that, especially with some of the changes that we've recently made. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. So some of the recent feedback we got was, well, we're actually looking for something for the chamber itself, meaning the staff. How can we bring this program to the staff, make it affordable? Some of the chambers are stressed staff-wise. They've had to furlough or lay off, or people have left to find other jobs, and they've had to bring new talent in. I know there's some pretty fresh executive directors on this. Some people have even been on the job a week or so. So how can we bring this to the staff itself and make it a cost-effective solution? One of the other pieces of feedback I get is our chamber is very small. Our members are very small. We need that micro market solution that's, really for businesses 2 to 10 employees. And along with that, we need that to be a quick start option. We need to have something that's available for our businesses now. We understand there's existing members who have 401k plans, and ultimately we'd like them to convert into a chamber program. But what can we bring to the table now? We've got a lot of momentum through the spring from a chamber perspective with all the things we've been doing, and now we want to keep that going. So we'll talk about that, kind of that quick start option, what's available now. And the other piece of feedback I got was similar to, chamber staffing issues, right? So, chambers say, well, we don't have any time to bring on a new program and work through any kind of, our staff is already taxed to the limits. And I certainly appreciate that. So what we're trying to do is make sure this integrates and look for some partners to make sure we can provide the chamber with some leads. So for example, if there's, 100 existing 401ks in your town and maybe only 30 of them are members, well, you've got 70 fresh leads. So we've built some proprietary systems to help you work through those leads to provide number of employees they have, name, address, contact information. So ultimately, we want to help grow your chamber, and we think this is a program to do that. So I'm going to start first with that first bit of feedback I got, which was that micro solution, right? So we're looking for to help those really small businesses. What can we bring to the table today? So we're going to bring a chamber branded solution statement wise. So we're going to bring out custom statements that are your logo, your look and feel, your colors, all that kind of stuff. And we know from research that most people, they get that big 401k statement, they're just looking at the front page, right? They just want to know their balance. What's their balance? Are they up or down? So we're going to put that on the front page, but we're going to leave the rest of the real estate to you. You know, this is not designed to be your newsletter, but if you have this statement in front of the employees of your member businesses, it's a great way to get your message out there. What are chamber updates? What have you accomplished the last quarter? What are the upcoming events? What would you like the employees of these member businesses to be around? So to be into. So we work that into the micro market solution, the custom branded statements. It's going to be on a solid record keeping platform. The platform, technology platform built by 401 Go that's really, really built from the ground up just to house small market 401ks. All the tax filings for these small business are going to be prepared and signed. There's going to be a lot of low cost institutional investment choices. So what that means is typically small businesses don't get the greatest investment choices, right? They're going to be very expensive because they don't have that buying power that maybe a 200 employee company has. So we're going to give them those institutional share classes, those low cost investment options that will let them compete 401k wise with any other business in the chamber. And lastly, we're going to give them easy to understand pricing, real simple, $9 a month per employee. That's what it costs your business. There's a ton of tax credits out there. There's tax credits for automatic enrollment, which we'd recommend every business adopt. And then there's tax credits based on the number of employees you have. And what we're seeing is up to 10 employees. These plans they're essentially free when you look at, you know, the cost of, you know, let's say 10 employees at $100 a year. That's going to be about $1,000 for that business. And you factor in the 2 tax credits. It's essentially going to come out at net zero cost to the employer. So that same solution is the same one that we'd offer to chamber staff itself. You're going to get everything that's on the left, but you're also not going to pay that $9 a month for the first 3 employees. So we know a lot of chambers out there have 1, 2, 3 employees, and some are part-time. So we want to give them something to help them get this program going. And we think it's important that the chamber itself participates in a 401k plan. We obviously don't want chamber staff out there giving details of the plan or investment or tax advice or anything like that. But it is nice to be in the room and the chamber employee can raise their hand and say, hey, this is a pretty good program. I'm in it. I'm in the same one that we're offering to you. So it's a real simple setup process. We can get through it in about 15 minutes. Again, with those low cost investment options and the investment advisory services, you're going to be in it under 0.5%. So anybody who really knows much about the investment world or the 401k world, I mean, it's pretty powerful stuff there to be able to get into a program like that. So on a $10,000 balance, it's $50 a year for the employee. So we wanted to bring out this solution to the chamber staff, but also to the small businesses that so many of you have as part of your chamber. One of the key components we wanted to mix into was that data solution, right? So when we talk about 401ks, all the information is public information. So all that can be found on the Department of Labor website. It's been a bunch of convoluted, crazy files that can be downloaded. But what we did is we brought that in, and we have the ability to work with chambers who say, well, we cover these towns, we cover these zip codes, we cover this radius, and then we'll provide that chamber with those leads, if you will. So we can cross-reference that to your existing membership. So we can say, okay, here is your existing members that have 401ks, and let's reach out to them and see if they'd be interested in adopting into the chamber plan, see if it makes sense for them from a fiduciary standpoint. But also here's the businesses in your geographic region who have 401ks who are not yet members. So let's try to tackle them. We can, you know, work on them together. You take the lead, I take the lead. We can figure out a way to bring them into the chamber and work on their membership now. So for those of you who don't know GrowthZone and some of their chamber master programs that they've had through the years, they're one of the leaders in providing software and websites and that sort of technology to chambers and associations. So I wanted to partner with them and make sure that they were the preferred provider for this. So lucky enough to have Dan on the phone today. he's on the call today. So he can talk a little bit about GrowthZone quickly. And, I got a couple slides here. So Dan, are you there? You want to hop on?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay, Brian?
I can. Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So and I'll be quick, but I just wanted to thank everyone for joining. And we are the largest provider of software to chambers of commerce. We serve over 2,500 chambers in the U.S. through our Chamber Master platform and also through our GrowthZone Chamber Master Edition platform. And our focus is on helping chambers and associations succeed. So it's same focus as Chamber 401ks. And we thought it was a good partnership because uh, it helps you, and it's a timely partnership in terms of giving you non-dues revenue and things like that. So it's early. We really just signed a partner agreement, and we'll find ways to collaborate more over time. But for now, to kick things off, we are offering setup discounts to chambers that sign up as a result of a referral. So we'd love to schedule a demo. My contact info is there. If any of you would like to see our product, we'd be happy to show it to you. The next slide at GrowthZone with our Chamber Master Edition, we're trying to help you bring in new members, help you automate and save a lot of time with tedious tasks, and help you engage and retain members. And we have lots of ways of doing that. But of course, one of the ways of doing that is non-dues revenue. And that's why we're here today, is to encourage you to try ways of gaining non-dues revenue and also helping your members in the process. So that's really, we're behind that effort 100%, and happy to partner with Brian to help advance that cause. And that's really all I have for today, and would love to schedule any demos. Feel free to reach out to me if you grab the contact info there, or feel free to reach out to Brian and he'll pass along my info. And best of luck. Hope you all have a great 4th of July weekend as well.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. And if you just want to pop your contact information in the chat window or something to make sure that's available, that'd be good too.
Sure will.
So we understand that the chambers might be understaffed a little bit right now, and everybody's working crazy hours. So the last thing we want to do is give this appearance of being another program that's going to be a burden to the chamber. If anything, we think it's going to be a partnership that alleviates some of those tasks. It's almost really in talking to Dan, the way that we set this up is they can make available to me, if the chamber's comfortable, a login that will allow me to go into some of the customer relations windows and screens you have in the database system there. So if you're using the GrowthZone software, you could ideally give me a login. So I say, you know what, I talked to Joe Smith at ABC Company. He's not yet a member. He's kind of interested in the 401k. He'd like to hear somebody from the chamber. So I could add that note to the system, and then it would trigger on the chamber side. So keep the lines of communication open without sending a bunch of email back and forth, but really be able to trace through the contact that I've had and the associations had to make this truly a partnership, and one that's not adding any additional labor burden to the chamber at all. So as Dan talked about, we're looking to drive revenue to the chamber, right? So we're looking to use this program to recruit and retain new members. It's also an opportunity, I think, for the chamber to take a leadership role in the financial wellness of the community. You've got 60 million Americans who don't have access to any sort of workplace retirement account. So I think that's what the Department of Labor was trying to address when they came out with this ruling last year that let associations start retirement plans, because they realized chambers are in a unique position where your local businesses trust you, their employees trust you, and if you can take a leadership role and bring something to the table that's a little bit unique, maybe a little bit different than what you've done in the past, but it solidifies that relationship all the way through. And again, it's one of these ways to show a quantifiable member benefit to enrollment and renewal. And I think this applies a little bit more on the plan conversions maybe. So for an example, we just converted a plan here locally who was outside, had a pretty good plan on the outside, not a huge employer, 20 employees, maybe a little over $1 million in the plan. So about 50,000 average balance per participant, per employee, which is pretty standard. And we saved them about $3,000 a year by converting into the chamber program. And that's a member that as a business pays, $300 or $400 a year to be a member. So we can always go back to those numbers. So, you as a chamber employee can come back to me and say, well, we need to approach, ABC company about a renewal. Give me the numbers again on the 401k, or compare them to the national average, and I can provide those numbers back to the chamber. That's a very quantifiable goal. And the last one here, I don't think it's something that should be overlooked. This is a way to really deepen the relationships to the employees of the member businesses. I hear a lot that chambers have great relationships with business owners, HR staff, admin staff, but as far as having a relationship with the employees as a whole, there really isn't that program that sort of brings it all together. But this is a way, certainly through the statements or any sort of group meetings that you have, a way to get in front of those employees and get them involved in potentially other events. Um, Whenever you build a plan, you want to build it from the participant level up. So, I've been in the business 20 years, and focusing on 401k is the vast majority of that. And I always look at it when I'm sitting across the table from somebody who's 22 years old at their first 401k plan, putting away $20 a week. How does this program benefit them? The association stuff and all that's great, but how does it benefit them? So, build these programs from the ground up. And I think the main thing is just the collective buying power. The lower fees lead to higher balances. These small businesses have retirement plans that tend to be very expensive. Now suddenly they're tapping into either the chamber's buying power locally, or even a bunch of chambers and their buying power nationally. So it just gives them the ability to tap into better pricing. If the chamber wants to get together with some of their estate planning attorneys, their accountants, their local financial advisors, and build some financial wellness programs around this, I think that would be a great benefit. So now you have access to that data. So we can run reports that say, give me all the employees of our member businesses in the 401k plan that are age 50 and older, because we want to do a pre-retirement tax seminar or pre-retirement estate planning seminar. And we can send that invitation to all those groups of people. So as a chamber, data is an asset, and this is something that will have a lot of data, and we'll be able to build other chamber programs around that. And this is really a polished service that pushes down a lot of the big market, big plan solutions down to smaller markets. So there's a lot of things that 401k plans on the small business side should have, but don't necessarily have because they haven't taken the time to really research them, or there's potentially charges for them to change their plan documents. Things like having a Roth component to the 401k. Very critical. Almost every plan should have one, yet only 2/3 of small business plans have one, have a Roth option. So that's something that, again, can be pushed down to these plans and really gives them a top of the line program right from day one. For your member businesses, I think the advantages are pretty similar. They're tapping into that collective buying power. They're tapping into the financial wellness that the chamber brings. There's also some increased inefficiencies and some decreased fiduciary responsibility. So they're now offloading any of that investment risk to an investment fiduciary, and they're also offloading the administrative risk off their table. There's some interesting articles out there. I always like to go back to the source documents. So this is one from the Department of Labor, and this came out a year ago when they talked about their final ruling on association retirement plans. But so they listed association retirement plans, potential benefits, economies of scale, lowering costs, decrease the regulatory burden. So this is coming right from the Department of Labor around their association retirement plan. So I think it's pretty clear from them that this is a pretty clear directive that they want the chamber to be involved in these type of programs. That's why they made this available to you. So I can send that link to anybody who's interested in that. I think there's really 4 types of prospects here. So there's your existing member businesses and helping them start a plan if they don't have one already. So again, that's those 60 million Americans who don't have access to a plan. There's your existing member businesses if you want to help them improve their plan with features and lower costs. And then again, there's those future members, help them start a plan, and the future members who have plans, help bring them into the chamber, get them involved, get their membership dues, and get them moving in the right direction. And that's part of the reason the Growth Zone partnership makes so much sense, is we can provide those leads and provide some of that data back to the chamber. Some of the questions we've gotten through this program is how much is it going to take to start and maintain this program? Certainly that micro market solution and the solution for the chamber itself. I mean, honestly, we could get that going in about 15 minutes. That's pretty easy to do. But as far as the bigger plan solutions, like a multiple employer plan or adopting into a pooled employer plan, it does take a little bit longer, and plan conversions take a little bit longer. But there's not a lot of labor involved there from a chamber perspective. Um, the cost to the chamber, it's really little to none. On the micro market solution, there's no cost to the chamber to the member businesses. There's no cost to the chamber themselves as a business in the 401k plan, and there's no cost to allow their members to adopt into a multiple employer plan or pooled employer plan. And this is a question I get a lot too. So for what size chamber does this make sense? So, as I said, there's chambers on this call from 100 members to close to 2,000. But I think, I think absolutely the bigger chambers should roll these programs out. I think there's going to be a lot of movement in the 401k industry over the next couple of years, and it'd be great to see the bigger chambers take a leadership role in this. But I think very small chambers can actually be pretty successful in this, just on a basis of getting new members, but also helping their existing membership. So a small chamber with maybe 100 members, I mean, they could have 10 employers in this by the end of the year. So to have a 10% adoption rate into a program is pretty impressive. So I think the small chambers will have a lot of success just because they have a really good one-on-one relationship with their member businesses. But it's certainly going to be the bigger chambers that have rolled these out first. And it makes a lot of sense for them. So there's been a lot of industry publications and some of this kind of stuff. Our program's been in Plan Sponsor Magazine, 401k Specialist, Pension Investments. I was lucky enough to be interviewed by a couple good interviews. Frank Kenny and Brandon Burton, who's on the call today with his Chamber Chat podcast. I was on with him early this spring, and after that, he went into a series of award winners, which has been pretty good. So I first came on as a guest, but now I'm kind of hooked as a listener. So if Brandon's here, I'll just let him pop on to talk about his podcast a little bit. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff. The stuff he's gone through in the last few months, providing a lot of value, certainly through this through the COVID times, and just sharing what other chambers are doing. So thanks, Brandon. Appreciate you hopping on.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for the introduction and for what you're doing and offering to chambers to be able to provide another and improved service for their membership. For anyone who may not be familiar with Chamber Chat Podcast, it's a program that I started about 1.5 years ago. And with the whole goal is it's a weekly podcast show to introduce you to people and ideas so you can better serve your chamber members and your community. And a lot of times when people talk about going to different chamber conferences, whether it's ACCE or a local, state association conference, one of the big reasons they go is to find out what other chambers are doing, to make those connections, to hear what programs are working for them. So on Chamber Chat Podcast, that's a big thing that I do is interview some of these chamber leaders throughout the country and other experts in the field to be able to get their expertise. And as Brian alluded to, right now we're in the process of doing a Chamber of the Year finalist series. So the ACCE finalists this year for Chamber of the Year, I've interviewed all of the chamber executives, all the presidents and CEOs, and really just talked about the programs that stand out, that are making their chamber stand out, as well as kind of unique for this year is kind of their plans on how to and to lead their business community through the economic recovery from COVID-19. So there's a lot of good information and value there. As you can see on this slide, just a couple of the great guests we've had on the show. Of course, our very own Brian Williams, Sherry Ann Kelly, David Brown, Chris Romer, Kathy Height, and many more. We're close to 90 episodes recorded now. But another thing that I rolled out just in the last couple months is a free chamber podcasting guide for any chamber that's interested in creating their own podcast. We all hear about how chambers need to be storytellers. Well, a podcast is a great way to do that. It's also a way that you could repurpose some of the material that you already have. For example, if you have a YouTube channel or if you do Facebook Lives, some of those things could be repurposed into a podcast that people can listen to at their leisure, not when they're just on their phone doing whatever else they're doing with their distractions. But I appreciate Brian, giving me a couple minutes on here. If you guys haven't checked it out, I'd invite you to check it out. We're on all the major podcast platforms as Chamber Chat Podcast.
All right, thanks, Brandon. I'm going to address a couple of questions here that I got in the window. So I appreciate people reaching out either ahead of time with questions or putting them in the chat window here. So one of the questions that I get, a pretty common question: do you feel there are any repercussions about competing with the private sector and potentially members who are in the 401k business or who are investment advisors, financial advisors? I think the actual answer there is actually no, because your local advisors can participate in this program. And I think most people in the financial services, once they understand the program, will actually welcome this program, because what you have is a chamber branded solution that's still customizable so that they can work with either their existing clients to move them into this, or they can help market this program. So really the best structure is when you have a few local advisors out selling and servicing the chamber's program, and then ultimately at the high level, it's my company that puts together the all the reporting and everything that goes back to the chamber and prepares the statements for the participants and all that kind of stuff. So this is 100% a program that cooperates with your local advisors. So I would think that they would welcome it and potentially move some of their existing clients in there. So I think that's a good question, and it does come up quite a bit. So one of the other questions I get sometimes is, all the different acronyms that are out there: ARP, Association Retirement Plan, MEP, PEP. Those are, those can be very confusing. And I think it really comes down to what the chamber is looking to do, the size of the chamber, and the staffing. I think that micro market solution is, again, something that could be implemented literally today and could be marketed tomorrow. For bigger plans or plans that are existing and you'd be looking to convert, you can have what's called an association retirement plan, which is one single plan that they're adopting into. And so those would convert into that, and the chamber owns that. They'd be making all the decisions around that. But not every chamber wants to take on that responsibility of running an association retirement plan. So for them, they can get a sleeve of, we've established a National Chamber of Commerce pooled employer plan, which means, so the chamber doesn't run that plan. They just simply have a sleeve that's carved out for them. That's their branding, their logo, all the same statements, but it's not actually the chamber's running that program. So again, sort of just depends on the size of the chamber, and those are probably better conversations to have one-on-one, but absolutely, I would entertain those conversations and point you in the right direction. Would independent financial advisors, would they get any benefit from promoting the plan? I mean, their benefit is they're bringing something new to the table. They're bringing something that, cost efficiency wise, instead of just being a single employer plan, they have some pricing power behind that. So they have the ability to bring to the table a more competitive product, and they can certainly, from a compensation standpoint, they can do, they can build a business, they can build a plan, they can build the participants. So their compensation is really It's really sort of up to them, however they want to be compensated on the program, but they absolutely have the leeway to do whatever they want to do from a compliance standpoint, and anything that works with their organization, they can bill that way. So on the micro market solution, there's a cap at 0.5%. So which is, for most plans, that's sort of naturally the cap anyway, I think, from a competitive standpoint. So so our program is the 10 basis points of that 50. So there's 40 basis points, or 0.40% available to the local advisor to, they may want to stay competitive and only do 25 basis points, or they may want to do all 50, or they may want to just bill the employer for their services. But yeah, it's absolutely something that would benefit local advisors, I would think. Sure. All right, I'll check the Q&A here one more time. I don't see anything else in the chat here, so I'll do a little over half an hour here. So I appreciate the guests. Any last questions here? Can certainly address them. So website address is chamber401ks.com. You can reach me at bwilliams@chamber401ks.com. I can certainly, if you have questions about Dan and the GrowthZone aspect of it, and those of you who are on Chamber Master software, how it integrates with that, please reach out to me. And then certainly if you need me to connect with Brandon, I would definitely recommend. So I got another good question here from Small Chamber. We don't have an attorney. Type of liability involved for the chamber? Great question. So for that micro market solution, there's no responsibility to the chamber. They're not actually signing any documents or taking any fiduciary responsibility. Their name isn't on any of the documents. So that really works more like an affiliate type program. So for that, Pete, you could have a small 5-person employer sign up, and it's your logo, your branding, but basically you don't have to do any of the work. I mean, you're certainly welcome to have an attorney review anything that you wanted, or if there's some of the chambers do a small committee of people to take a look at it, but there really isn't any fiduciary responsibility on that micro market solution. For the bigger employers, if you want to have a sleeve of this pooled employer plan, again, that's not a chamber-led program. You're just adopting into the sleeve of a national chamber program. That middle option of having an association retirement plan, that's absolutely your specific Chamber of Commerce plan and no one else's. There is fiduciary responsibility for the chamber there, but that's, I think, a little bit better for the bigger chambers who have the staffing and have a little bit more funds and firepower beyond that. But no, you could absolutely put together a program with the micro market solution and then a sleeve of the national solution with no issue and no fiduciary responsibility. Because again, that's outsourced to my company on the investment side, and then to other companies on the administrative side. So it's a good question there. Thank you. Again, I appreciate everybody coming on. You know how to reach me. And have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe and enjoy the long weekend. Thank you.